Hello and welcome to the Joinery Business Podcast. On today's episode, Bruce goes over the importance of morning meetings, a concept not a lot of joinery businesses engage with. The idea of coming to work in the morning and engaging in a meeting and rounding the team up so everyone's across everything happening in the business can be really important and productive to bring your business forwards. And Bruce goes over some of the ways you can structure your morning meetings and why they're so important. Finding a way to structure your morning meetings in a way that works for you and your team can be actually quite a fun process. So it can be important to create a structure and a process for your morning meetings. If you have any questions about today's episode, be sure to jump on over to the Joinery Business Hub on Facebook. Now, without further ado, let's jump into today's episode.
Hey, welcome to the Joinery Business Podcast. My name's Bruce, and I'm going to be your tour guide today. Today we have raised a topic that comes up a lot, almost weekly, but certainly in groups often. The conversation today is around daily meetings, commonly called toolbox meetings. We actually call them pre-start sessions. And a lot of businesses in our industry, kitchen cabinet manufacturers, joinery, furniture, really resist this. And it's an interesting human dynamic that we find quite often. For small businesses that start up, it's just really, it's almost like there's this pressure or this need to get stuff done. So as you start a business, if you hadn't had any experience with a well-structured business, with a well-organized business, with a business that runs within certain structure and framework, you probably are conditioned to just show up for work and just start doing whatever you're going to do. And so we find that it's one of those topics that tends to get passed down from generation to generation. So that's probably why when we bring this conversation up, a lot of people will resist it or resist implementing it. They feel like maybe it's wasting time having a morning meeting every single morning. But what I can tell you is some of our most successful clients that we've ever worked with, in fact, every successful client that we've ever worked with, without exception, has a pre-start meeting, a morning meeting. If you put this into context, if you think about any sporting team that tries to go out and play a game without any sort of a huddle, without any sort of a strategy before the game starts, will probably lose the game. And similarly, if you're playing the game and you find that your current strategy isn't working and you don't stop for a few minutes and readjust and implement a new strategy, you'll probably lose the game. So it's very, very normal in every other aspect of life to see pre-start strategy type meetings before some action that needs to happen happens. And if you think about, we'll just stick with the sports analogy for a few minutes. If you think about sporting teams, 90% of their time is spent in practice and 10% or even less is spent in the actual game. And we think about business, oftentimes we see business that has no practice time, no time that isn't just spent almost obsessively focusing on the work that needs to be done. And invariably, those types of businesses are the ones that are actually struggling the most. So we have to see this relationship between not having any downtime at all, where you can stop and reflect and put a strategy in place, and doing the work. If there's no relationship or there's no balance between those two, it is just going to be Groundhog Day every day, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same result. So let's talk briefly around what the morning meeting actually is. There's a couple of resistance points that I'm talking about here. One is, if you're coming into talking about a morning meeting, never having done it before and never seeing and living the actual results of it, you're probably going to resist it. And I think the other reason a lot of people resist it, as soon as we say the word meeting, a lot of people will relate to those long 1 hour, 2 hour meetings that you've been in the past that didn't go anywhere, didn't have any actions, didn't have any outcome or do anything. And who wants to be in those meetings? Nobody. I know I sure don't. So whenever we say a morning meeting, a lot of people go, I don't want to have a meeting. I want to just get to the bench and start building cabinets. Totally understandable. So it's important to structure a meeting so that it's not actually a meeting at all. It's really just a conversation at the beginning of the day. Now, we always train people to have the morning meeting around a communication board, which also shows 2 weeks of a production schedule. But the beginning of the meeting really is someone saying, did anybody have any safety concerns yesterday? So every single day, if you're having a conversation around safety, that's always going to be a good thing. So one of the first most important things that the morning meeting is going to do is it's going to help people work in a safer environment. Now, we've all been in these situations before where we've had a near miss, and it might be something that you slipped on, or it might be something that was poking out at head height out of a rack that just about hit you in the face. And if the focus is on just doing work, you're probably not going to feel like you can stop and do something about that. So the near miss is like, whew, I just about tripped, or I just about smashed my head on something, and you just think, well, I dodged that bullet, and you just get on with work. And then, unfortunately, accidents happen after 5 to 7 near misses. So if we don't do anything about that, let's say that unsafe situation that you just encountered, somebody is going to get injured. It's just the reality of life, right? So unsafe situations will result in an accident and maybe someone getting severely injured. So there can't be anything bad about every single day having a conversation around safety, because the result of that meeting could be an action of somebody removing that unsafe condition. If there's a slip hazard, or if there's a potential, getting injured hazard, somebody should do something about that. So that's the first benefit of having the morning meeting, that you actually create a safer work environment to be in. But the morning meeting shouldn't be any longer than 5 to 7 minutes. And in the morning meeting, we're only talking a little bit about yesterday. So it might start out saying, was there any safety issues yesterday? Does anybody have any good ideas from yesterday that you might want to talk about? Are there any process issues? And then we're going to get on to talking about today. And that's it. So it's a quick 5 to 7 minute conversation around good ideas, safety, possibly some production issues, possibly even an opportunity for people to bring good ideas to the table. What we know about humans is you will probably be working away, maybe your assembly bench or over at the CNC or the edge bender or wherever it is you're working in the factory, and you'll come up with a good idea and it'll just hit you. You'll just go, if I just could make a jig, or if I could just move the bench, or something like that will hit you. That's probably a really good idea. If you don't have a regular occurrence where you can capture that idea and take action on it, you'll probably forget about it. So if meetings only happen every week or every 2 weeks, what's going to happen most likely is those good ideas, those wonderful thoughts that we want to capture, get lost, because people will go, I'll remember to bring that up in next week's meeting. Next week comes around and everybody's forgotten all that good stuff. So by having a cadence and a rhythm of having morning meetings where before any work happens, you're going to, first of all, work in a safer environment. You're going to capture great ideas. And the third reason that this is so valuable and so helpful, I think, and there's probably more than 3 great reasons, but I'll give you the third one, is everybody arrives at work in the morning, or if you're doing a night shift, you arrive at night, but you arrive at work with your mind on other things. You arrive at work thinking about your family life, or your car is breaking down, or whatever it is that's going on in your life. You arrive with that on your mind. And the morning meeting is a way to get everybody centered on what they need to do and get focused on what the outcomes are. Because it is true that productivity is a real problem, generally speaking, in the world right now. And people working in distraction mode is, in my opinion, the reason for lack of productivity. People are not focused on what they need to do. And the morning meeting is a way to get everybody amongst your team on the same page, and then go to work focused on what you need to do. And we see this all the time, where we'll observe a team that just shows up for work and kind of shuffles over to their bench and starts working. You can see people just thinking about other things other than work. And sometimes you never get that out of your mind for the day. So the morning meeting is designed to do that as well, to get everybody centered and focused on what you need to do and get everybody on the same page. So morning meetings are critically important. We couldn't possibly stress this enough. And if everybody we worked with could start doing morning meetings the day we start working with them, we'd be really happy, because we know that everybody that does it gets a very positive result from it. But it's got to be done in the right way as well. It's got to be done in a way that does get positive results, not done in a way that will disengage people. Yeah, I just thought I'd jump on today and do a quick message around morning meetings, why they're important, how to structure them, and yeah, let's just have a chat. If you'd like to learn more about morning meetings, reach out. Our Facebook group, the Joinery Business Hub, we have these conversations all the time, and let's open a conversation around morning meetings. What do you think? Is it a good idea? Have you tried them when they didn't work? Let's start some conversation around this. Hopefully this has been helpful, even if it's just a podcast that you're listening to, but start the conversation around morning meetings. Bruce from the Joinery Business Podcast. Peace out.